Okay, this wasn't on the schedule, but I'm going to do this. Welcome. It's good to see you here because I'm going to step down and let our guest for this morning, who's going to lead us in worship, Paul Purefoy, take you away in our first time of singing together. So would you stand as we sing together a great hymn? And Paul leads us on that great, great hymn, I'm pressing on the upward way, new heights I'm gaining every day as I go to higher ground. Let's worship together this morning.
Everyone, pressing on the upward way.
Here to the microphone, so I won't have to holler, although they pay me to holler around here sometimes. Good to see you. Glad you're here. Welcome to what we're calling Fall Harvest, First Baptist Church, FBC Durant. We're kicking off today in a great way, and I'm glad you're here. If you're a guest today, welcome. We're not going to get up and move around. We're going to save a little bit of time for these folks today, but we're glad you're here. If you want to give us some information about yourself, a contact number that we can contact you, there's a way to do that on your bulletin, or you can just kind of come down here the old-fashioned way and say, hey, I'd like to just see me, okay? And we'll do it that way. We love it. If you don't have a life group that you would like to gather with, Brother Philip's going to be in outside that door after the service, and he can give you information about how to get to a life group that would fit your needs and circumstance. Let me introduce our guests right now. So that when it comes time for them, they don't have to wait around for an introduction. You've already been introduced to Paul Purefoy, and his wife Margaret is right here. Margaret, they've been here before. Matter of fact, yes, welcome them. Matter of fact, Paul came several years ago and helped us dedicate this piano when we bought that. We've got too much information for me to spend time up here on this guy. We started OBU together in 1968. And have been like brothers in both senses of the word ever since. And I wanted him to be here today to share music in this service. And tonight, you're not going to want to miss in the Student Worship Center tonight, Old Time Religion. I'm telling you, invite somebody to come. If they've gotten disconnected from their faith of their childhood, they can get reconnected tonight through music, through the word. And so come tonight at 6 o'clock down in the Student Worship Center. Paul's going to be there with all kinds of great music. You're going to love it. I'm telling you what you love, and you're going to love it, okay? So just take my word for it, and you're going to love it too, okay, up here in the choir. So that's at 6 tonight. Let me introduce John Capps. John, stand up right there, but this is John Capps, dear friend, who's the Southeastern Regional Director for FCA here in our area, and what a gift he is to us. And so we're calling this FCA Day this morning. I wanted to give both these services to this incredible work, amazing ministry that you're going to hear about this morning. He's got a whole array of guests, and I welcome my fellow pastor, John Hazel, who's going to speak in a minute, but he's giving part of his morning. You don't have anything to do on Sunday mornings, so thanks for coming over here. But anyway, John Capps will introduce the rest of these folks to you, but what a great way. Would you welcome both Paul and John? Thank you. And by the way, if John didn't get around to it, his wife Andrea is over there. Son Drew, son Ryan, okay, freshman at Kingston, freshman at Southeastern, got them lined out, and they're here this morning. So make them feel welcome after the service if you would. And let's pick it up right where we stopped, okay, Paul?
Let's bless that wonderful name, the name of Jesus. Why don't we stand and everyone sing? Bless that wonderful name. And every way I ever failed him, every time and time again, it's washed away, it's washed away by the blood of Jesus, washed away, washed away in a flood, it's washed away, mercy poured down on me that day, all my sin is washed away. Every struggle with temptation, every reason for regret is washed away, washed by the blood of Jesus. And every dark and tarnished memory I'm so desperate to forget is washed away, washed away by the blood of Jesus. It's washed away in a flood. It's washed away, mercy poured down on me that day, and all my sin is washed away. Whoa, oh, precious is the flow that makes me white as snow. No other fount I know, nothing but the blood of Jesus washed away in a flood. It's washed away, mercy poured down on me that day, and all my sin was washed away. All my sin was washed away. Every sin was washed away. Washed
Awesome, awesome. Well, thank you so much for church for having us. Whenever church contacted us a few months back, and it was almost kind of one of those hello moments. It was kind of like nobody else does that, and of course we'd love to come share what's going on in the ministry. Like he said, my name is John Capps, and I've been the area representative for FCA going on my 5th year now. And I knew that it was going to be really tough for us to share, to even scratch the surface, because this ministry means a lot to me, and it means a lot to me for this reason. I was that small town, unchurched, broken home kid that got invited to an FCA huddle, a group, that's what we call it, because I played sports, and somebody felt like I needed to be there, and I'm certainly glad they did. And I went into this huddle where there were athletes and non-athletes, and I felt this welcoming presence that didn't judge me for who I was or how much money my parents made or how many touchdowns or baskets I made. It was just a different feel, and it was something very, very peaceful about it. And through that, I got invited to this thing I never really heard of called a youth group. And after about 3 invites, I went, and they had food, which was good. And I had, amen, I'm feeling you there. And I had a church family wrap their arms around me like no other group of people that I had ever been around. A couple months later, I walked up front and gave my life to Christ. As Kaylee will tell you, I'm a crier. It's a spiritual gift. I just bawl all over the place, and man, I'm sorry, but my life has never been the same. Has absolutely never been the same. I went to college here at Southeastern, met my beautiful wife here. It started off right here for her and I. We were members of this church. I was a teacher and a coach for 19 years, and every year I would give of my time. And it was easy to be the FCA sponsor on campus. It was so easy. And even though I get asked this question, aren't you afraid of getting fired for praying with the group of kids on campus? Aren't you afraid you're getting fired because you pray with your teams? Aren't you afraid? Aren't you afraid of all that? And I said, you know what? If they're going to fire me for that, well, then God's got something bigger and better. And I'm going to continue to do that because that's just where it's at. I'll be the first to tell you, between sports and my faith, FCA is just always fit. But I tell every group that I can, athletics is not who I am. And if I seem that way to any group, well, then they've missed it. They've missed it. FCA is a 64-year-old ministry that started right here in eastern Oklahoma. And fortunately enough, we still get to be on campuses all across the nation. And I've seen some amazing things done because kids get invited to an FCA huddle. It sounds real familiar to me. That's a group that meets on campus or off campus. Right here in Durant, right here at Durant Junior High. We've got 2 coaches, Coach Kyle and Coach David. They're new to our program. Okay, Coach David, that didn't really count. You're going to have to really raise your hand. They're new this year, but they've stepped up and said, hey, I'll do that. I'll be the huddle leaders. Along with Tim White, who's been leading it for the last year or so. 3 weeks in a row, right here at Durant Junior High, there's been over 100 kids show up and get to hear the gospel on Wednesday mornings. Over 100. That's over 25% of the students that are there, all 7th and 8th graders. This ministry is so much bigger than me. I tell people all the time, I'm just a figurehead. I hope today that we scratch the surface and paint a picture of what's going on. There's lots of hope out there. I can do the same thing, get caught up watching the news all the time about the loss of hope. There's hope, and it starts with our kids. Because every time I've looked, in the 19 years I was a HUD leader, I see John Capps standing at the door wanting to kind of, hey, what's going on in there? Something good about that. Well, come on in here, man. We've got some great stuff going. And I've seen lots of kids come to know Christ, not because of FCA, but because of the ministry that's going on. We did our very best to paint a picture of just what we're all about as far as right here. I feel extremely confident that we've got some amazing testimonies that you're going to get to hear, and I know that I just need to get out of the way. You're going to first hear from a young man that I got to know 4 years ago here on campus, C.B. Cantwell. He'll crutch up here in a moment, and we've been praying for him ever since his injury. But I met a young man that has since blossomed, not just through our huddle, but as a human being. I've seen him grow in his faith, and right now we have the strongest. We had 54 kids at our first college kids at our first FCA Southeast huddle this year. 54, and you should have seen them when they circled up and prayed. It was a powerful testimony of just what's going on. And it's not about FCA. It's not about sport. It's all about Jesus. Some amazing things are going on. And he's going to share a little bit of what he does. He's been a huddle leader at our summer camps. He's been on our leadership team now for a couple years. Man, God's got some big things planned for him, and he's really, really making a difference. Second, you're going to get to hear from Kaylee Baxter Ragsdale. She's kind of been our spokeswoman for the last year. God's moved her to some bigger and better things, and I'm just humbled just to be able to know her and know her family, because they're as much FCA and Jesus than anybody that I know. Then you're going to get to hear from Mr. Luke Justice. Luke's going to share his testimony today, and I'm just going to leave it at that. And then last, you're going to get to hear from in the FCA world, an icon. And I know, John, you don't like that, but that's what makes him who he is. This guy has stood in the gap here at Durant High School for years for the ministry and led the FCA huddle. And it's just been some amazing things that are going on right here. So without further ado, we're going to give CB a moment. His 40 time has kind of slowed a little bit since these crutches has come into play. But you guys give a warm welcome to Mr. CB.
Thank you. Good morning. I'm going to try not to fall. We're going to move this over here. So if I fall, you can laugh. It's okay. I'll get up. So I'll give you a quick story. So 2 weeks ago, we were playing Oklahoma Baptist. And just because they have the name Baptist in their name doesn't mean they have Jesus all figured out. They still need Jesus too. They like to play a little rough, so, things happen when you play football. But like John said, my name is CB Cantwell. I go to Southeastern, and I play football there. Well, I did play. This is my senior year. I'll be graduating in December. And dang, these things are not cooperating with me. I apologize. Yeah. This is my senior year. I'll graduate in December, and then I'm excited to continue to, once I graduate, become a teacher and a coach, hopefully. We'll see what God has in store there. But I'm excited to get that going. And the reason I want to be a teacher and a coach is I love the youth. I love hanging out with kids. And specifically, I want to be in high school because I feel like that's where I have the most impact and where it's a prime age where kids are trying to figure out who they are and what they want to do with their life and really trying to figure out who they are. And I feel like that's where I can have the biggest impact. But anyway, when I was in high school, speaking of that, is when I first got invited to FCA, and I'm from Frisco, Texas. And I did not want to go to FCA. I wanted to go to the game day when we went to SMU and watch football. I'd love to go to that, but I didn't want to go to the home group where we had FCA because I thought I wanted to go do something else, hang out with friends or do something other than that. And so it wasn't until when I got to Southeastern when I got involved with FCA. One of my former teammates said, hey, let's go to, he was the one who was in charge of FCA at the time, which was maybe 8 to 10 kids, which is still great. If one person gets to hear the gospel, then God's doing something. But we only had 8 to 10, and we'd have some candy. And he said, hey, I want to start a Bible study. I was like, all right, cool. No idea what the Bible was. I knew John 3:16. That was about it. And I didn't like to pray in front of people. I could barely pray with myself. I didn't know what that looked like. Growing up, I had good morals, but good morals doesn't make you a good Christian. And so I didn't realize that until I got going on. But he said, hey, I want to do a Bible study. I was like, cool, I'll start coming. He's like, yeah, we're going to do it in your room. I was like, all right, cool. I guess I have to go now. And so people started showing up to my room, and I got to hear the gospel a little bit. Really didn't know kind of what it looked like or understood it at all. But he said, yeah, we're going to come to your room. We're going to have Bible study. And we had all these athletes come, and so I wasn't the only one who was new to it. And I remember specifically one time he said, hey, we had our bunk beds. We were more room in our dorm, so we made our beds into bunk beds, so it was pretty cool. I was sitting on my top bunk. He said, hey, CB, you want to pray for us? I was like, it's okay. Someone else can pray. And he's like, no, you got it. I was like, all right, here goes nothing. And so I prayed in front of the group, and I mean, it was like, if you would have told me 4 or 3 years ago I would be up here sharing my testimony about what FCA has done in my life, I would have called you crazy because I couldn't even pray in front of 5 guys. And so now I'm up here sharing how good Jesus is because he's brought me from there and allowed me to be an FCA huddle leader, like John was talking about. And that's been a cool thing, is working at FCA summer camps, is where we have middle school and high school camps where kids get to come and play sports, go on boats, but most importantly, hear about Jesus. And just because we're called a Fellowship of Christian Athletes doesn't mean that we only share to athletes. We're on campus. We're sharing across campus to math majors, science majors, teachers, aviation, just different people. It's amazing how God is working in FCA. On the campus Southeastern, we have, like John said, we have 54 people in our first huddle, which is amazing. Going from when I first got here, we had 8 people showing up maybe on every Wednesday night, and now we have consistently in the 40s and 50s range, which is awesome. We, as you see that picture, at the end of every FCA, we circle up and we call it our huddle prayer. And it gives students the opportunity to, who maybe were like me and didn't know how to pray, give them an opportunity to speak up. And so we go around in the circle and they say something that's on their heart that they need prayer for, whether it's family, friends, school, or if something bigger. It gives them the chance to voice a prayer. And so we go around in a circle and they voice their prayer, and at the end we all pray together. And so maybe if they were like me, they don't know how to pray or don't have that confidence yet. It gives them the opportunity to start a foundation level and say, hey, God, I don't know who you are. I don't know what's going on right now, but I'm going to voice this and see if you can work. And so it's cool to see God answer those prayers and just change the lives of those students that come to Southeastern FCA. And hopefully we can transform, not us, but God can transform them at Southeastern FCA, which is just a fraction of what's going on right now with FCA, and allow them to leave college and change the world as well, and sharing the gospel. And so that's just a little bit about me and kind of what God done in my life, how he's taken me from someone who doesn't know how to pray in front of 5 people to coming here on this fine Sunday morning at First Baptist Church Durant and sharing a little bit about who he is. And so thank y'all for your time. Up next is the Kaylee Baxter Ragsdale.
I don't know if you caught that for a second. He said it was his senior year. And CB's been someone that I've gotten the chance to watch grow, and he's been someone that he has influenced a lot of people on campus. It's his senior year, and you see that he's not on the field. Most people would be depressed, bitter, angry, defiant, and he chose, and he's chosen every single day. Not that he's not mad, not that he didn't have probably an angry Hulk run when that happened, but he's chosen to let the Lord use even this injury to glorify him. And so I want you guys to catch that, that this is a picture of what FCA, not only FCA, but what Jesus can do through the vehicle of FCA. And I've been blessed, so blessed with the opportunity to serve on staff with FCA just over 15 months now. And the first year was right here in Durant, Oklahoma. And I'm going to be honest with you, I grew up here, been here my whole life. My plans, Kaylee's plans, were to remain here because I love you guys and I love this area. But there's a little verse in Proverbs, and it says, many are the plans of a person's heart, but it's the Lord's purpose that prevails. And so that's kind of what's happened in my life. But I'll tell you a little highlights from the first year of Durant and the women's ministry. We had so many awesome things happen. We had girls that had never heard about FCA hear about the ministry and start attending huddles, whether that's on Durant High School campus or campuses across Southeast Oklahoma. We had a coaches' wives and female coaches Bible study. We had a 5K started. And so what I like to say is that the ground has been toiled and it's ready for whoever God has to come in next and to follow me here. And so I want you guys to please join us in prayer, because that's the thing about FCA. Not a lot of people just apply for these jobs. It's a God-selected, appointed position that's laid upon, honestly, their hearts and ours. So please join us in prayer that we find that person soon. And then recently, I've been, I like to call myself an Edmondite now, been living in Edmond, Oklahoma for the past month, and getting to see what God is doing there has just been crazy. In 1 month, it's kind of like one of those things where, it says in the Bible all the time, and sometimes we just don't believe it. When you're in the will of God, there's more peace, there's more joy, there's more purpose, there's more power in the name of Jesus. And when you're in his hand, he protects you from all the things of the world. And just in 1 month, we've already developed a Coach's Wives Bible study. Tonight, I'm going to OU, and we're going to start OU softball team Bible study. And so getting to talk with the national champions that I just watched on TV 3 months ago, I walked in their locker room for the first time, and I was like, man, I already thought that you guys were cool and really pretty and on TV, but in person, this is a whole different level. And getting to show them that the platform that God has given them is a platform, and it's to be used for His glory, is an amazing blessing. There's just been so many stories I could share from the past 16 months, but I want to leave you guys with this one story because I feel like it's so impactful. This summer, I had the opportunity to be the huddle leader coordinator. And what that means is basically the college huddle leaders, the college female girls that come and serve, and they are the leaders of our groups of student athletes. I am their leader, and so I get to pour into them for one weekend. And so with that comes, if there's a situation that the girls don't know how to handle, some student that needs extra prayer or encouragement or counseling, they bring them to me. And I was honestly really nervous about this role because I'd never been put in a role like this before. But there was this one girl, and her name was Emily, and Emily is from Muskogee. And Emily walked up to me, and Emily is a perfect example of how FCA reaches every single person, because Emily was not an athlete, but she made her way to FCA camp. And God drastically changed her life. So she walks up to me just broken, crying. And I said, Emily, you want to go outside? Like, you want to talk about things? And she couldn't even speak, but she said yes. And so we went outside and we sat down. I was like, what's going on? And she begins to tell me that she came from a broken home, that her stepmom is verbally abusive to her, that in her past she experienced physical abuse, and now at school she's bullied every single day. And she told me, she said, Kaylee, in the last year in Muskogee, we've had 3 students die tragically. One of them took their life. One of them died in a car accident. And I was just beginning to just be broken for this little girl, 15 years old, and experiencing all of this in her life. And I got the amazing opportunity to tell her that even in the midst of brokenness, that Jesus did not destroy her life, that Jesus is the one who comes to give her life, and that the devil wants her to go down the same path. Because she told me, she said, Kaylee, before I came to this camp, I wanted to end my life. Like, I wanted to be just like them. I was done. I'm over it. The brokenness of this world. And I got to walk her through making that decision to put in her faith in Christ. And guys, I wish that you could see her face. Went from straight brokenness and hurt and anger to just the absolute joy that you've never seen before. Just from when we bow down in prayer, her lifts up her face and just a smile. A beautiful, beautiful smile. And Emily, so that was on Tuesday night. On Wednesday night, this is the power of the Lord, guys. On Wednesday night, she came up and asked me, she said, I know that you're in a really stressful role. Can I pray for you? I was like, oh my, are you the same person? No, you're not, because Jesus changed your life. But on Thursday night, she was praying for her huddle group in her huddle. And still to this day, I've stayed in contact with Emily, and she, you know what, she went back to school. She's still getting picked on and stuff, but she has the power of Jesus that lives inside of her to push her through. And Emily is just one picture of what God does through the ministry of FCA, because for some reason, just like Cap said, they may not feel comfortable coming to church, but they'll walk into a gym that they're comfortable in, and then we get to plug them in to churches across the area. And so I am beyond excited for you to hear one of your own that's grown up here. He's an amazing young man. His family, they love the Lord, and he's been built up for such a time as this. And so please, please, please give your warm and welcome and attention to Mr. Luke Justice.
I'm Luke Justice, and I'm a sophomore at Rock Creek High School. I've been involved in FCA for 4 years. Each week, our huddle meets on Wednesday, and we hear about what God has laid on someone's heart. And I know that for some people here, or for some people there, that's their only time that they hear the name Jesus. From the time I was born, I was in church and part of a youth group. When I was little, I always remember going to FCA events. For the past 3 years, I've gone to FCA camp, and I've really got to see what it was all about. when people would ask if I was a Christian, I would always say yes because I've always went to church my whole life, and I just always thought that I was just a Christian. And I grew up in Falls Creek hearing the word and singing songs and listening to scripture, but it wasn't until the past summer at FCA camp that I knew that God was completely that I knew that God was calling me to completely surrender my life to Him. Making that decision to be obedient was the easiest and the hardest decision ever. It was easy because I knew God was in control, but it was hard because I knew that it wasn't going to be easy. I have never been a bad kid, but now I know that my example in the things I do and say are more important than they ever were before. I'm so thankful for FCA, and I think that it's so cool that God used a group of college athletes who like all the things that I like to reach me. I have learned through FCA that you can be a competitor and still serve God. I have also been blessed with people who invest in my life and relationship with God through FCA. FCA has been the biggest impact on my life. It's a family where we have fun and compete and build relationships and love and serve God at all the same time. My life has been changed for the better because of the fellowship of Christian athletes.
Good morning. I'm John Hazel, for those of you who don't know me. I teach at Durant High School, and I just finished my 34th year at Durant High School. My wife teaches second grade here in Durant, and she's taught for 33 years. And so we kind of got a running joke, and it's probably not a joke, that she gets them started off really well, and then I kill them off when they get to the high school. But I don't remember exactly when I started being the huddle leader for FCA at Durant High School, but it was sometime around the year 2000, and I've kind of lost track of those years, so I don't really know. But I want to say a couple of things before I tell you what I came to say. First of all, I do have a couple notes because, as Brother James said, I am a pastor. And you know what we do if you just give us a microphone and no guidance. And so I don't want that to happen today. I'm going to kind of stay on track right here so that I don't kill you and kill the mood today. But I want to say a couple thank yous, first of all. It's really tough. Nowadays in society, a lot of people are so busy. They kind of lose track of what's important and where we really need people's help. And there are a couple, and they won't want me doing this, but I don't really care because I got the mic. But there are a couple people in this town who helped me tremendously with FCA, and one of them is Tim White, sitting right over there. He's not just junior high, but he also helps us at the high school. And the other one's Blake Wright. And they come every Wednesday night and pour into those kids' lives, and it's a blessing to have them there with us. And until she had to start taking care of her family, Melanie Meredith was also there for quite a while. And so if any of you are looking for something productive to do with your life and you're a woman, we could really use a woman at Durant High School FCA to pour into those young ladies' lives, because I can do some, but some of you understand that that's just not the same thing as having a lady there that can visit with some of those young girls that have some things that they need to talk about. So I'll put that out there and let you know that we have need for that. If you know somebody or are that kind of person, I'm pretty good at laying things on you. I'm getting ready to lay some more stuff on you. And the good thing about it is I've been around so long. Gray hair is not always a good thing, but one thing is you don't have to have a filter anymore. You kind of say what you want to. I don't really care what people think. So with that said, I want to say a couple things. First of all, it's FCA Day. And as a teacher at Durant for 34 years and my wife for 33, we've got 67 years in the Oklahoma classroom working with kids from second grade all the way through high school. And I don't want to sound alarmist, but I want to tell you that for the most part, we're losing our kids. And if you don't realize that, you're out of touch with what's going on in society. We're losing our children. They don't know who they are, they don't know why they're here, and they don't know the purpose of their life. And they're trying to find it any way that they can. And most of them finding it in the wrong way, because there are so many opportunities and so many people taking advantage of those opportunities to grab those children who don't know where they're going and who don't know who they are, and they're leading them down the wrong path. And if it scares you, good, because it should, because I see it every single day. And one or two people can't save them all. It's time that communities woke up and started realizing they better get actively involved in taking care of these children. And just because your children are gone or they're graduated or they're not at school anymore doesn't mean your job is done. If you know the Lord Jesus Christ, your job is to pour into those children's lives, no matter where you are, no matter how old your kids are, no matter what you're doing, because we're going to lose our future if we don't do something about it. And when I started at Durant, we used to meet at the old high school. Some of you know where that is. And because it was right in the center of town, we would sometimes have 200. We've had 250 kids before. And then when we moved out to the new high school, which is so far away that nobody can get to it, we got down to a little while where we had one, and I know she hates it when I do this, but it's the truth, and that was that young lady right there. There were several times that was the only lady that was ever there showing up for FCA. That's the only reason we kept it going. And now, over time, and because of her faithfulness and some other people, we have probably 50, 60, 70 kids on any given Wednesday night in FCA. And so here's what I'd like to say and give you to think about. You know, there's been a lot of talk in the last few years. We talk a whole lot about politics and how important it is that we get the right president in the White House and who's going to enter the White House and who's going to run that office and who's going to walk in the White House doors. But I want to tell you today that what's more important than who's in the White House is who's in the schoolhouse. And you need to understand that that's where we're training our leaders. That's where the future of this nation and our spiritual health is going to come from, what we do with our kids. And what a lot of people don't realize is I get tired of hearing people say, well, God's been taken out of schools and God's not. That's not true. FCA has an unrestricted, wide open door into the public school system right now. Every Wednesday night on the practice field or in the practice facility or in the gym or wherever we have to meet, we're preaching the gospel of Jesus Christ to Durant High School students, and there's not a one of you who's not welcome to come if you'd like to come. If you'd like to share, if you'd like to give a testimony, if you'd like to support, any way that you want to do that, it's wide open. And so if God's not there, it's because you're not taking him or you're not supporting him. It's not because he's been run out. And so I'm going to lay on your shoulders not only an opportunity, but a responsibility to stop talking and start doing. Something about the opportunity that you've been given, because I'm here today to give you that opportunity. I invite youth leaders and youth directors and people all the time into our FCA. Bring your kids. Come speak. Come share the gospel. Do whatever you want to do. And I get very little response from that. It's almost like that our churches have got to the point where we huddle up and we protect our own. And we're not going to do anything, not let anything happen to them. And I did a sermon one time where the church is supposed to be a catapult, not a cubby hole. And we've made it a cubby hole, and it's supposed to be a catapult. And we're supposed to be teaching our children how to go out into the world and make disciples. Matthew 28 is the commission that each one of you and I have. Go ye therefore into all nations, make disciples, baptize them, teach them to observe all I've commanded you. And I've done a lot of study in the Greek over the years. And that go ye therefore in the Greek does not translate into send ye the preacher. It translates into go ye. Therefore, every one of you can have a hand in this if you'd like to do that, whether it's prayer, whether it's money, whether it's coming, but it's to the huddles and seeing what's going on. But it's time that you realize that there's a lot of good things going on, and these kids need to see that there are adults that are supporting them, that are a part of their life, that are interested in what's going on, and they want to be a part of FCA. And so one of the things I want to share with you, on Wednesday nights, what we do, if we don't have a guest speaker, we always have a young lady. We always divide boys and girls. And the girls do a Bible study together and the boys do a Bible study together. And one of the things I'm really proud about my kids is it's student-led. They do the Bible study. And they didn't have a 5-minute deal and let's play games. They're out there for at least 30 minutes doing Bible study, praying for each other, huddling up, seeing what the needs are of people, and then they do things in their community. Most of you probably are not aware of this, but I want to share with you a couple things that come out of our FCA huddle. Except for the last 2 years, every year I've done it, we've had some conflict. You know, when Durant puts on the downtown trick-or-treat deal where they go down and they do all the stuff, and I know y'all aren't going to like this, some of it, but where we celebrate the demons and the witches and all that kind of stuff, well, our FCA kids do a carnival down there in Market Square. Some of you probably seen that. We've done that, except for the last 2 years. We've done that for about 15 years. And it's a really big carnival. And we play games, and we hand out candy and Bible verses. And my high school kids minister to the little kids that are going through the trick-or-treat deal. And usually we have between 300 and 500 little children go through that. And my FCA kids minister and witness to those little children about God and about his love and do the Bible verses, do the candy, and play the games with them. That's a pretty cool deal that your students are doing. If I ran out, you probably hear my teacher voice. If you want to do that, see if I can, whatever I did, hit it. If not, I can talk loud enough.
Check.
As a teacher, you have to learn to adapt to what you have. The second thing that our FCA has done every year since I've been there is we have a project called Give a Kid Christmas. And what we do is we work with Families Feeding Families and the Women's Crisis Center and the Pregnancy Center and all that, and we identify children that will not get anything at all for Christmas, that'll have nothing. And my FCA kids raise money to buy Christmas, and we buy as many as we can for each, and every year it's gone up. We spend $100 per child. And we don't buy goofy stuff. It's clothes and shoes. And what we do is we meet at Walmart on a Saturday night about a week before Christmas on Christmas break. And I hand out, they don't get to, the kids never get to see the children. They don't get to see who they are. They just get a piece of paper that says it's a 5-year-old boy and he's this size and he likes this kind of stuff. And then I hand that slip of paper to a couple boys and say, get him stuff that's cool that he won't get made fun of that he wears to school and that kind of stuff. And then I hand the little girls to that. In the last 3 years, we bought over Christmas for over 100 children, which means that's several $1,000s that our kids have raised to buy Christmas for these kids. And last year at Walmart, on a Saturday night during Christmas break, we had 114 high school kids show up to buy Christmas for those children. Now, those are some things that are going on through FCA is we try to teach our kids not just to huddle up and not just to do a little Bible study, but then get out in the community and do something with the faith that you've been giving and show what the love of Jesus Christ looks like. That's what FCA is all about. We do other things too, and we do things in the school, but I just want to share with you that some of you are not aware that that goes on. You have no idea what these kids are doing. And what happens is when the community sees what these kids are doing, they want to get involved, and they want to give them money to buy Christmas for the children or do the little fair that we do and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, it's just kind of silly little stuff, but it's giving these kids an opportunity to practice their faith. Now, I'll close with this because I'm not going to go too long, but I want to share this. One of the things that I hope that this community and this town and this church, and maybe this will grow, will realize is that there are a lot of kids that come to FCA, and you've heard it here today, that are not Christians, and they're not churched. They're hanging out with their buddies. They're there just having a good time because it's a comfortable place. And churches are really guilty, and I'm guilty of this. I'm not getting on to y'all. But churches are really guilty of asking people, hey, come see what we got. Come see all the cool things we do. Come hear our preacher. Come listen to our programs. And Jesus said, no. You go out into the world and show them what my love looks like. It looks like service. It looks like giving. It looks like sacrifice. It looks like taking some time out of your schedule and getting involved in a child's life. You know, you will never know what might happen if you show up sometime and put your arm around a kid, as you heard a while ago, and just talk to them about how much God loves them and the things that God wants to do with them. And a whole lot of these children are never going to come here because to them, it's hard to explain to you that grew up in church, but to them, this is the scariest place in the world. But when you go to them and you follow the commission that you've been given to go into the world and show them what my love looks like, you'll be amazed what kind of changes are made. And so I'll start it here. I've done it in a lot of places. And Garrett has made a special effort this year to be at a lot of our FCA meetings and share the gospel of Jesus Christ and be a part of that. So I appreciate Garrett. I don't know if he's here right now, but I appreciate him for doing that and making that attempt because I've invited every youth leader in this town. And their eyes light up and they get excited and they talk about it and then they never show up because I guess they got too many other things going on. But when you take your youth kids to these things, it gives them a chance to go out into the world and practice their faith. Does that make sense what I'm saying? Y'all hear? Listen, there's a statistic, I shared it yesterday. It says that 80% of our kids walk away from their faith when they leave high school and go to college. And I disagree with that statistic. I don't think they're walking away. I don't think they ever had it. And the reason is because they never owned it, because we gave it to them. And we think that we've got to make it easy on them, and we've got to entertain them, and we've got to do everything, or we're going to lose them, and all that kind of stuff. Listen, they need to be taught that it's not faith till it's acted upon. It's not faith until you do something with it. It's not faith until you go out into the world. And what better place than a place like FCA to start going out and practicing your faith and doing something that where you're kind of watched over. We can do it here, but it doesn't mean anything here if you're not doing anything in the world. Your pastor's probably taught you that a few times, that all the sermons in the world don't mean anything if you don't go out there and if you don't act on them. So I'm going to encourage you today and ask you today to think about supporting FCA monetarily, prayerfully, and getting involved yourself in any way that you can, because that's the way that Jesus Christ walks right into the schoolhouse door, and the gospel is preached, and children are saved, and you don't have an excuse, because right now the door's still wide open to you. And anybody that wants to go can go. I run Durant's FCA. I'll let you come. There's no reason you can say that I can't be there. You're invited to come and see what's going on and hang out and be a part of what we're doing. So thank you for your support, and thank you, the church today, for letting us come speak, and I appreciate you guys. God bless.
Well, thank you. Thank you for that. You know, I get asked all the time, tell me how the ministry's going. Share with me a little bit about what you need. Talk to me a little bit about the biggest impact. Tell me what you need. Tell me what you, and I said, well, okay. Giving them a little background, and I'm in my 5th year, like I mentioned before. It was, I believe, where we're at now because of the ministry, not because of me. We currently have 28 active huddles in southeast Oklahoma. I have from Madill to Shamingo Atoka and everything to the Arkansas-Texas line. It's about 48 schools. I don't get to them all the time, but we get there. 28 active huddles that's going on. Obviously, the largest ones are right here. We've got, this past year, we had over 43, which was a record number for us. We have 2 camps during the summers, and not just huddle leaders, but actually campers get to go to camp, and camp's a springboard to everything that we do, because those kids bring it back to their campuses. Whenever we look at salvations, I know of at least a dozen within the past year within those 48 schools. Those are the ones that we know about, but we know the impact is much deeper. One of the things that, like I mentioned, the biggest question was, how can we help? How can we help? If you would get your bulletin, and please pull out this card for me for 1 second. If you would reach inside your bulletin and please pull this out right here. By far, my first year of ministry, this was the toughest part. We're all a little self-made, and I realized real quick that I was way too prideful. I got hit over the head by a pastor buddy of mine that said, John, what are you doing not wanting to ask people to join in what you're doing? You're not asking them for anything. You're giving them the opportunity to provide hope in a world where some people think there is none. You're giving them the opportunity to bless. When I look at where we started to where God has us now, I think of one word, and I mention it all the time, it's growth. We're doing our best right now to pray for the female minister that's going to follow Kaylee. We're doing our best to continue to grow financially so we can do more. We can buy more Bibles. We can provide more food. We can provide the things that the ministry costs. And in 5 more years, who knows what's God going to do? My contact number's on here on the back. It's fairly simple. We'd love for you to be a part. In FCA world, it's called the home team. It's those who give monthly out of their own checking or a card that goes directly back to this area right here. It goes back to everything that you heard of. And believe me, we're just scratching the surface here. We're going to ask that you prayerfully consider joining our Southeast Oklahoma FCA home team. Our average gift is $65 a month, from $10 to $250. Whatever God lays on your heart, it's totally up to you. We'd love for you to be a part of what's going on here. So when I get asked what the need is, there's the need. We need you to be as active as you can, just like Mr. Hazel mentioned. Please show up, volunteer, because this is more than just us. And these kids are worth it, by far. If you have any questions, I'm going to be around. You can fill this out and give it to me. You can take it home and pray over it, and then contact me. I would love to meet with you and discuss more if you have questions. You guys have been great. Thank you for your time. Thank you, church. Thank you, Pastor, for giving this to us. And it was a blast. Thank you.
Well, you can see why I wanted you to hear these folks and what an amazing work God is doing. Paul was talking about 1968. You were at FCA camp, right? And so FCA goes way back. I'm sure Margaret cheerleader John Marshall High School back in those days. FCA was a big part of their life. And you probably got a story, too, about it. But we get to hear this. I wanted you to hear about it. So how do you respond this morning? First of all, we invite you to Jesus, okay? It is what it's all about. If you miss that, okay, let me clarify. This is an invitation to Jesus Christ, to follow him. This is a tool he uses, but this tool is not the one who died for your sin. Jesus did. And we invite you to him. And we'd love for this morning to be that time when you do that, when you step out and say, I've heard a little bit about it or a lot about it, but I've never done it. I want to give my life to Jesus today. So we're going to be down here in a minute when we're singing. And some of these folks, if you want to go, if you're more comfortable going up to one of them and talking to, just come on up, because we're all across here willing to pray for you, pray with you, and how to give your life to Christ. Second of all, maybe there's a part of this that resonated with you as a Christian to get involved and connected, maybe as a student athlete or a non-athlete. It doesn't matter. Whatever your connection is, this is a great place to go. And so be a part of that. You've heard about it. Rock Creek, go to Rock Creek. Go to all the FCAs that are around in this area. They can tell you more about it. So that might be it. And then, as John just said, are you willing to help out? It's one thing to think they're doing a great work, and it's another thing to help them do it, to fill the toolbox. And so that's a part of what the home team is all about. So would you stand with me for a moment, and we're going to sing this great song, "Just As I Am," with a more modern twist to it at the end. And we love this song because it's the reminder that Jesus takes us just as we are, but he doesn't leave us as we are. I come broken to be mended. I come wounded to be healed. I come desperate to be rescued. That's what this song says at the end. So wherever you are in your life, we're down here. If you'd like to respond this morning or after the service, we're going to be across here to meet with you. Let's sing together this great song, and we invite you to do what the Lord is saying this morning.
And that
I said, we're here to help and share with you. We'll be here around here at the front. If you're looking for a life group, Philip will be over outside that door, and you can information him about that. Would you come for a moment? And let me just say to you, many of you in a church, you give online or you have other ways of giving. You can still give to FCA through the life of our church, and so simply just make that designation and we'll pass it right on to them. So we can do that, or you can praise for all of your goodness. Thank you for the offerings of life, of showing love, of heart, of giving time and talent. We pray, God, that you would use all that we do for your marvelous glory, we pray. And these offerings, especially at this moment in crisis. Amen. Jesus. In 1968 we met, and Paul would play piano over at Ford Music Hall, and then I'd come in and say, now let me teach you some real music. And we'd sing the Happy Goodmans and the Florida Boys. You're going to hear some of that tonight, okay? And you can get to hear some more of that, and it's going to be fun tonight. Student Worship Center at 6 o'clock, not 6:30, but 6 o'clock tonight. And at the same time, children are going on across the street with a big event for the children. They're calling it, I forgot what they call it. Anyway, a big children's event. That's it. And so that's across the street at 6 o'clock, and want you to know about that. But be here tonight. You're going to enjoy this. We're going to have a great time together in the Word. Old Time Religion Night, we're calling it. But just bring anybody, young, old, whatever else. We'll have a great time together. And let me just thank John again. Thank you and all of you. They're going to do this again at 11:15, okay? So kind of rewind, all right? Brother John went to preach at his own church. For those of you that don't know, John Hazel is the Oklahoma State Teacher of the Year, currently reigning Teacher of the Year. He's on circuit right now. He's actually not in the classroom, and he's on a circuit because that's what you do when you get that. Then you got to spend a year going out, and so he's actually doing that. Let me also mention that the Purefoy's daughter, Robin, is the Owasso Teacher of the Year this year. And that's quite a deal because the Owasso school system is a marvelous school system. And so that's quite a, Robin is quite a lady. They've got wonderful children that they've raised. But anyway, I want to introduce you to Danny David. Danny, you kind of got a shout out a while ago from John, but this is Danny. We've gotten to meet the last few weeks. He came on board to be the middle school football coach and 7th grade basketball coach. Did I get that right? Even close. All right, okay. But he's become we just enjoyed getting to know each other. He's moved over from the Duncan area, and he wants to be connected with this fellowship. He's got a church, a Baptist church over near Duncan that he's been a part of. He wants to connect with us, and I'm so glad for that because he's just got so much heart, and we can minister to him, and he can minister to us as God uses him in the classroom, basketball court, football field, wherever God puts him. He's sprinkled him. You've heard about FCA this morning. So would you say welcome to Danny? Welcome. All right. They're going to come by in a minute, and you got to remember all their names, okay? So, yeah. Figure that one out, okay? But anyway, he's going to hang around just a minute, as is all the FCA folks. If you've got questions about FCA, you can ask that. And if you got a question about life group, this is the guy that come to. He'll be out there if you need to find a life group for this morning. And do pray for FCA. Pray for the next service. We'll have a lot of students in the next service. And there might be somebody here this morning just like a little John Capps. And that's saying, hey, does anybody out there love me? Anybody even know me? Even know where I'm at? Well, God does, and we want to tell them this morning. And then he wraps himself in skin and uses that. So be a part of this week. Tomorrow night is CR night, and we want to invite the church family to CR. It's going to be in the Student Worship Center tomorrow night, okay, because we're expecting a larger crowd. Tomorrow night, 6 o'clock in the Student Worship Center, our big group for Celebrate Recovery. Please come. Check it out. You've heard about it for the last 8 weeks in the sermons I've been preaching and the testimonies we've heard. Tuesday night, a men's event, a ladies' event, okay, and there's child care for both those. So, ladies, you can sign up for the ladies' event down by the elevators, and men, Rib Fest. We order the ribs. You like ribs, okay? But you're going to hear about Jesus too, all right? Okay, because he's the main deal. But this would be something to bring somebody to. Man Alive Rib Fest, okay, on Tuesday night at 6 o'clock in Fellowship Hall. Joe Blash is going to share his story, and it's going to be a great time. That's Tuesday night. And then Wednesday night, Starting at the Poe. And that's a big deal around here and reach a lot of young people. The fellow's been in charge of counseling the last several years, and we just have a harvest. We're praying for a harvest this week of all kinds of things going on. So pray for that, would you please? Let's stand together. Come to greet Danny and see these other folks, and we'll sing it out, all right?
Lord, lift me up and let me stand.